All right, with Carlos Gabriel Ruiz, Galentine's Day is the feature film. It's from the Horror Underground Film Festival. First of all, what's Galentine's Day? What is that?
What is the holiday?
No, what does it mean? What does Galentine's mean?
So basically, the premise of the script is there's this group of girls, and they get together every Valentine's Day and have sort of a
Oh,
ladies
I
only.
just got it. Gal,
Yeah,
right?
so it's Galentine's Day. Yeah, so it's yeah, so
Yeah.
that's basically the premise of the movie is that they've been getting together for a while, ever since a bad breakup left one of them kind of in shambles, and so yeah, it's a good way for them to kind of reconnect and hang out and have just a ladies only event. So.
So her one of the characters I think is Lisa. Lisa. She's engaged, and then her husband or her fiance's she finds him with another woman. She's obviously devastated. The marriage is the wedding is off, and then she goes off with her pals. So it seems like a the tone changes, right? Where it's like you're shifting the tone, where it's like just a girl, it's like a the sadness, and the girls are getting together. It's like girls unity, and then all of a sudden it turns into a horror film.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of play around with some of those tropes, starting it off sort of as this like romantic comedy where Lisa's going to come home from her business trip and surprise her fiance, only to kind of catch him with another woman, and then from there cuts to this Galentine's Day retreat, which has kind of been going on for like 5 years, and so sort of as kind of a like not that's a buddy comedy type thing, but sort of a ladies only retreat, female empowerment comedy. They're kind of coming of age, but they're also sort of questioning, where they're at in life, and some people are moving on and whatnot. And then it goes from this, really like kumbaya story to it
Yeah.
changes into a bit of a horror movie, and then kind of a whodunit, and then a slasher film. So yeah, try to mix some of those tropes in and change it up a little bit. Yeah, so.
Very different film from Parasite, but it's kind of like what Parasite was doing with kind of changing genres halfway through, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. If you've ever seen the movie Sunshine from Danny Boyle, it's set in space. It starts off as this almost like 2001
Yeah.
epic adventure, and then it changes to like this psychological horror, and then it turns into the slasher film where they're just trying to run away. So a little bit like that. Yeah, for sure.
Robert Rodriguez, Dust Till Dawn, like they
Yeah.
switch genres, right?
Yeah, definitely. I thought, I always think it's kind of interesting to play around with those genres and try to set up one thing, and then throw some red herrings in, and sort of change it and shift the tone, and just kind of go all out. Yeah.
It's not easy to do because the audience is expecting one thing, and then when you shift the tone, it could set them off. But it's like for when it works really well. But it doesn't, it just doesn't work, right? So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, I tried to thread the needle with the script, and hopefully, it played out that way. So yeah.
you said it in the Ozarks. Do you know the Ozarks well?
Yeah. So from Missouri, been to the Ozarks many times.
Okay.
Hang out at the Lake of the Ozarks occasionally, not all the time. And the Lake of the Ozarks is definitely somewhat. I mean, it's a pretty big lake, and there's a lot of different parts. So I think a lot of people are familiar with it from Ozark on Netflix,
I
and
just rewatched it. It's
yeah.
funny that I'm talking to you. Yeah, I just finished rewatching it. I just finished the last episode like 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know if it's necessarily like that, but there definitely are places, and it's a little bit like, vacation town in the summer, right? It's really
Yeah.
busy, really popular, but then in the wintertime, there's nothing to do, and everything shuts down, and so that's why, setting it over Valentine's Day, in February, it's cold on the lake, it's kind of isolated, no
Secluded,
one's
right?
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do people feel from Missouri feel about that show, Ozark? Are they offended a little bit? Or are they like it's a tribute? Both?
I think yeah, it depends on who you ask, because
Yeah.
most of it was filmed in Georgia,
Yeah.
and the Lake of the Ozarks does not look like that. I think in the pilot episode they did film a lot of it kind of at the Bagnell Dam, and the that area where he's like walking through the arcade. All that's actually in the Lake of the Ozarks, but I think the rest is just filmed in Georgia, and the like the casino boats and all that from uh from the show are different than the casinos that we have in Missouri a little bit. So
Gotcha. Well, they should have given him a better tax break. They would have filmed in Missouri, right? So
you're right. You're right. I think Up in the Air was one of the last ones to get a big tax break from the city, and then I think the governor at the time did away with that. So yeah,
why would he do? I'm just curious. Why would like I know we're going on a little bit of a segue. Why would he do away with that? Doesn't that help the economy? Doesn't that give jobs? I don't understand.
yes, you would think that. It's a good question. For sure. It seems like I think they've been slowly trying to bring some of those incentives back for sure. Because you see how some of those grants have benefited other places. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because I live in Toronto. That Toronto's been taking advantage of that for decades, right? So,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you create a crew, and even without the tax breaks, you have a great crew. You still want to film there because it's like you're going to get good films out of it. So,
yeah, for sure.
anyways, so basically, but yeah, it's a great idea for a film. Like I think even you alluded in the blog interview that it's female dominated, right? It's a female story, but you happen to be a male. Were
Yeah.
you concerned about getting the right voice of these characters in the
Um,
script?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a writer, so everything's just pretend, right? And I'm trying to, if I do my job as a writer, I'm putting myself in the voices of the characters, and I'm writing from their perspective. So it doesn't matter who the character is. I obviously try to do a lot of research, have a have a lot of conversations with folks, and then get a lot of feedback too to make sure uh, that I'm hitting those goals and trying to hit the right tone in the voice and whatnot. And so I think, getting that input is important. But for me, like personally, like, yeah, kind of right. Every project is sort of different from the last project I did. And the previous project I did before that, it was called a script called Low Bar, and it was about a bunch of guys in their 20s. And so I was sort of filled with that voice. And then I wanted to kind of do a pivot after that, and wanted my next film to be, female driven and with a female lead. So yeah, so kind of the opposite of what I did previous to that. So
Gotcha. And it's strategic too, right? Because it's like that. I think that the world kind of needs these stories more, not the just kind of
yeah,
a female horror story, right? Because it's usually the male is kind of like dominated. The females are damsel in distresses, right? They're being chased, generally
definitely.
speaking. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was also another part of it is I didn't want just to be, sort of like a Scream or Halloween where the females are damsels in distress, but I mean that they're kind of empowered, which Jamie Lee Curtis and Halloween definitely is, and fights back against Michael. But yeah, that was also a goal, and so a strong female protagonist, and that they're not weak, but also I wanted to have that camaraderie with all the women in the script too. So yeah.
So yeah, I was looking at your website. It's fantastic. You're an animator too, right?
Animator, illustrator, yeah, graphic design, failed cartoonist, I'd like to say. I went to school with got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting and illustration, and design, and didn't quite make it as a cartoonist to the way I wanted it to be, at least like earlier on in my career. So fell back on graphic design, got into animation, and sort of took off from there. But yeah, yeah.
So what like do you want it to be like the this is like is that even they even have like cartoonists like cartoon strips now?
No, yeah, I wanted to be like Bill Watterson. I submitted a bunch of strips. I used to write a comic strip in college, and when I graduated, I submitted a bunch of strips to Andrews McNeil in Kansas City, and that's who published, Calvin and Hobbes. And so that was my goal initially. I wanted to do that. Didn't quite work out. I did ended up getting some comic strips in like local arts magazines called Playback STL. So I did that for 3 or 4 years, but then they went under, and I kind of pivoted to web design and app design. So yeah, I took my graphic design and went digital for sure.
Dude, like you just said Bill Watterson, that's Calvin and Hobbes, right?
That's Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah, yeah.
But they don't do that anymore, right?
No, no. So I think it was a smart choice. be to kind of pivot away from cartoons. But I never quit doing comics. I still do comics. I write and illustrate my own comics. I write comics for other folks. I have two graphic novels and a collection of short comic book stories that I put out as well. So
It's
yeah,
amazing. Well, it's you know what? Like you got me thinking about comics, right? Because I remember showing the film during COVID a few years back about the history of comic strips. And obviously there's like the newspapers kind of crushed that. Because I remember as a kid, I'm old enough to remember like Saturday morning, like at
yeah,
least in Canada, Saturday morning comics that like 10, it was all color, 10
yeah,
pages. That's the first thing I went for. I went after, right? That
yeah.
Peanuts and family, was it family can't remember.
Circus,
Family Circus,
circus.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And yeah,
Where
the
they'd have the
Wonder
little
Man.
map of like where the kid he was supposed to come home from school, and then he would like all the stuff that he did. He would like walk around the town, and they showed the little map of all the misadventures that the kiddo got to before he went home and family
Yeah.
service. Yeah,
Yeah, there
yeah,
was some really good. There was some really. Do you think there'll ever be a comeback? Like usually things kind of circle around, right? You think
yeah.
there?
Never, they haven't gone away. I mean, now it's like
No, but I mean from the
webtoons.
like the popularity that I once had.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's just different now because now Webtoons is like the biggest comics platform, bigger than like, comic books that are sold in stores. And so I think everything has gone online. And there's huge audiences for that, and especially like with all the anime and all the anime and manga comics. So
Yeah. See, I'm reading my daughter the Diary of the Wimpy Kid. That's
yeah,
kind of
those
like
are
a comic
huge.
strip.
Yeah, that's huge. Like that Captain Underpants. My kid read all those, and those are really big. Yeah,
Yeah, there actually there's some good social commentary
yeah,
in Diary of the Wimpy Kid.
yeah. Those are all really great. And I think I think that's Scholastic publishes all those, and those are huge for them. I mean, like the numbers for comic books and bookstores are pretty big. So yeah,
Yeah, they do. And they keep, I think they're on what 15, 16, 17 Diary of the Wimpy Kids. They just keep going,
they keep
right?
pumping them out. Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
mom just keeps making mistake after mistake. She's the worst mom ever.
yeah.
But that's my 2 cents. Yeah, that's amazing that you do that. And it's like your website, so it's just a nice looking website too. It's like I think you do website design, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, yeah. So moved into kind of app design and web
Yeah.
design. So, yeah. And it's all visual, it's all visual art. So I mean when I was starting off, writing my own comics, I would just, do comic strips that's like 3 to 4 panels,
Yeah.
jokes, setup, joke, and it's just kind of doing that, building it out into actual, short stories and visual comics and like where's the action. And so I would always have to kind of draw out the action when I was writing it just to get it planned out in my head. And
Mhm.
so that visual element led to me doing storyboards for local television agency. And so I was doing that and writing and producing comic like television 30-second
Yeah.
television commercials and whatnot. And so it just kind of built off from there, and so it led to eventually screenwriting. So yeah,
Is that what you do? You still do that now, or do you still do like storyboards?
I storyboard out my comics when
You do
I
that
when
for
I
like a living? You don't like? I was wondering if you still do that for a living or no?
no. For a living, I do app design. So I build websites and mobile apps, but it's all kind of the same because like when you're building out sort of when you're building out a website and you're doing the animation flows,
Yeah.
right? Like the user flows, where they're going, it's all storyboarding.
Yeah.
So storyboard every day when I'm building out like user experiences.
One would assume that app design is it's like there's a need for it because everybody wants an app and I don't think I could do it. Right. So it's hard to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I mean the good thing, the thing that everybody wants when they're using either a website or a mobile app, right, is like they don't want to think, they don't want to be confused by the experience. They want it to
Yeah.
be intuitive and easy. And so it's your job to deliver that, right, and to make it a successful experience, whether they're trying to buy something on a website
Yeah.
or find out information about a company
Yeah,
or something.
Vimeo did our designed our app, but it's like they're like they're a machine, I guess, right? So they
Yeah.
probably do one every day.
well oiled, yeah, for sure. So
Oh yeah, so yeah, so you're like yeah, just like it didn't. What's Brain Cloud Comics? That's like you guys still are you still like there's a bunch of you who are a part of that.
yeah, so I started that it's kind of a side hustle is making comics and published. We have I think like 24 anthologies and a bunch of different, graphic novels that me and my friends put out. And so yeah, I've been slowing down a little bit on that since COVID because I've pivoted a little bit to screenwriting and a few other things. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's also
impressive. It's
yeah.
it's, it's really impressive that you're able to do that. And you guys are all based in Missouri?
No, we're kind of all over the place.
Okay.
So I think at this point we've had almost like 200 different contributors, and so folks are most of us are based in and around St. Louis, but people have kind of ventured off and gone to different places, and some of the guys and gals have done some work for Marvel Comics, for DC Comics, and IDW, all that stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because they kind of move on, I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah,
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of storyboard artists who worked on some big films, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah, obviously it's all about like luck and opportunity and being in the right place, but you definitely have the talent to do that, right? To do work in the industry as a storyboard artist, but maybe
yeah.
on your own film, I guess, right? In the future for this film in the future.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever directed before? Like,
yeah, so I mean, directed television commercials and some shorts as well. So
okay.
working on a short film now. Hopefully we could, get that going, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, and tell me about this idea. Do you remember where you were when you kind of came up with this idea for the film?
Yeah, yeah. So my wife and I were watching a horror movie on Halloween, and it started off okay, and it kind of dovetailed from there. And so I was sort of after the movie, I was telling her like all the things that I would have done better. I was like, oh, they should have done this. They should have had this red herring. They should have like made you think that this person did it, and then changed it up and all this stuff. She's like, well, sounds like you want to write a horror film. And before this, I'd written a couple of horror short stories, but never really thought about doing a horror film. The idea kind of percolated, and then I was like, "Oh, maybe I could do that." And if I did do it, here's the things I would want to do. And then I was walking the dog, and sort of the overall idea kind of popped in my head, and it just wrote itself. It took about 6 weeks. I wrote a detailed treatment, kind of outlining the different pivots and how everyone was gonna like the different red herrings and like all the action and um, the script after that just sort of wrote itself. And then I, spent a couple weeks or spent about a month after that, after the initial draft, refining it. So yeah.
And so did you start setting it to like festivals like ourselves and kind of like seeing
Yeah.
seeing the
Yeah.
reaction, seeing what the reaction was going to be?
Yeah, so I sent it last year to a couple, and I got some quarterfinals placements, and then I revised it again after I received more feedback. So I refined it again, I think at the end of last year, and so I sent it out to a few folks, and this year, and so I'm waiting to hear back. And so it was placement in Year Festival, which was really exciting, and then the screen reading, which was even more exciting. I mean, it was great to hear the actors uh, uh, say the lines that I wrote, and the narrator kind of dictate all the directions. It was amazing. It was amazing to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid film. So
Thanks, man.
screenplay, but I'm already calling it a film because it's like they're like, and you were kind of strategic about it too, because you kind of like noted in even the blog interview that it doesn't have to be a huge budget to make this film, right? So you have six actors, really one kind of main location, right, in
Yeah.
its setting, and then yeah, and then it's all about the story.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so. So I wrote a Western called Samurai West, which is about a samurai who ventures to West Texas
Yeah.
to avenge the death of his friend. And so that was like, in talking to people who gave me feedback on the script, they were like, well, it's going to be really expensive because it's a period piece. You have all these sets built that it's specifically like, if you ever want to do something, kind of keep it smaller. So then the next screenplay I wrote was set in St. Louis. It was locally, real small cast as well. And then wrote Galentine's Day out after that, just to, kind of have the opposite kind of, like I said, that one Low Bar was about a bunch of guys, and I want to just kind of palette cleanse and do something completely different, and that's where Galentine's Day came in.
So in your dream would be to like make this film, like direct it yourself?
Um, Potentially, or work with the director and help produce it.
Gotcha.
So
Collaborate.
yeah, definitely. I definitely want to be a collaborator. I have a lot of ideas. I'm constantly writing scripts, and yeah, I just want to get those get some stuff out there. So,
And show
and
people the real Ozarks, right?
yeah, yeah, for
Filming
sure.
in the actual Ozarks.
Filming in the actual Ozarks, maybe this time, we could get some breaks from the state, and we'll see,
Yeah.
because yeah, it takes place Kansas City, uh, one scene in Kansas City, and then at the Ozarks. So yeah,
So you're based in like the St. Louis area?
yeah, based in St. Louis,
Okay,
correct. Yeah.
your sports teams would be the Cardinals and
Cardinals and the Blues and St. Louis City soccer team. So
yeah, because you guys lost the Rams, I guess, right? So
yeah, we don't talk about that.
you don't talk, but you got a couple. Well, you got one Super Bowl out of it. You should have got
One
two.
Super Bowl. Should have got two. Belichick filmed the practices.
Oh,
So
come on. Who lost that Super Bowl? Mark Martz lost that Super Bowl.
Mike
All
Martz
he had
did.
to do was run the ball.
Yeah, yeah, but he doesn't. He never did. He doesn't.
Not a very yeah.
No.
All he had to do
He,
is run the like give it to Marshall Falk, and he was using two linebackers in that game, right?
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
a big football nerd. So basically, it was like he could have won that game so easily. So
yeah, yeah. Well, because he would, he just wouldn't deviate from what he wanted to do because he was smarter than everybody.
yeah,
So
they said like I think there's a famous thing where like they were saying let's run the ball in the second quarter. He's like fuck that, I'm gonna win my way.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he obviously did not. So yeah,
Gotcha.
same with Pete Carroll. All he had to do was run the ball.
Yeah, true that. So then I guess the last question would so does that are you not Kansas City fans? What's that highway called? The I-70?
I-70, yeah, yeah. So it's funny because I was a big San Francisco 49ers fan growing up. And so
Okay.
when Joe Montana went to Kansas City,
Yeah.
I became a Chiefs fan. And so then because I love Joe Montana, and he like led him to the AFC finals.
My Bills, like I'm from that
Yeah.
area, I'm a big Bills
Oh,
fan.
okay, nice. Well, I grew up with my dad taught at Oklahoma State, and so Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders both went there at Oklahoma State University when I was a kid. So yeah,
So your dad, where did he went to Oklahoma? He taught at
taught
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma State. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so I was there when both Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders were there. So some good years. Yeah, I was at
Yeah.
the Ice Bowl when Thurman Thomas played against Brian Bosworth at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma kicked OSU to the curb. So, anyways,
Gotcha. And then you guys had Jimmy Johnson was your coach before that, right?
at Oklahoma State,
Yeah.
no, not Jimmy Johnson. You're thinking
Wasn't he a coach? Oh, I thought he was a coach there.
Barry Switzer was a coach at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Jimmy Johnson was that because he basically knew Thurman Thomas well. Anyways.
Yeah. Maybe I was a kid, so
Yeah,
if
exactly.
that's the case, that was before my time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
gotcha. I think he was I think he was the coach there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
I
on.
just looked at it. Yeah, he was the coach. He was a coach from 79 to 83.
So 83. Okay. Nice. Yeah. That's that's funny. Yeah. I moved to Oklahoma in I think 83. Yeah. It was like 4
Gotcha.
years old. So
Yeah. All right, man. Well, congratulations on the film, on the script. It's fantastic. It really is,
thanks.
and I wish you all the ultimate best for it.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to interview me, and I'm excited that a place and was able to do well in the festival. So thanks.
Thanks.